apologies to the applicants and hopefully our future technicians will solve these problems more easily in the future, but this hasn't happened before. So thank you for your patience. And Thanksgiving and Christmas to come to everybody. But let me welcome you December 10th, 2025 meeting. Baltimore County Design Review Panel is called to order. I'm the acting chair, Donald Can. We will start with a roll call to account for the members of the panel that we now have on the phone and on the video. And when I say your name, please say aye. Mr. Sala?
Aye.
Thank you. Mr. Sharma?
Aye.
And Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, we're good to go. Marta, are there any changes to the tentative agenda that's been published?
No changes.
Okay. Also, the minutes from our previous meeting, October 9th, 2025, were emailed to the members, the panel members, and you received those draft minutes on October 8th. I'm sorry, the minutes were dated October 9th. The meeting was on October 8th. If you've had an opportunity to review the minutes, are there any corrections that we've received or any corrections anyone has to those minutes at this point? Hearing none, would someone please make a motion to accept those minutes?
I'll make a
I'll
motion
move.
to accept the minute. Oh, sorry.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Frank.
Thank you. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? Very good. So the minutes of the previous meeting are now approved for the record. Now I'm asked to read this statement on the record. Bear with Title 4, Subtitle 2, Part 1, Sections 32-4-203 and 32-4-204. Establish the Design Review Panel, DRP. The DRP was established to encourage design excellence and shall act in a consulting and advisory capacity to the agencies involved in the process for reviewing development plans. The objectives for the DRP's assessment include spatial, visual, and functional relationships to the topographic characteristics, the natural and built features of the site, as well as surrounding features of the site. Visual and functional integration of streetscapes, pedestrian pathways, playgrounds, recreational amenities, and parks. Streets and sidewalks are laid out in a safe and convenient manner, and parking is a positive design element. Building, parking garages, and other structures are spatially and visually integrated and suitable to their surroundings in proportion, massing, and type of materials and colors, signage, and other elements of urban design. The plant material are selected and cited to define the site, provide a theme, frame a view, enhance architecture and street character, improve microclimate, provide transition between dissimilar uses, screen objectionable views and uses, and reduce noise levels and glare. In carrying out its duties, the DRP utilizes these guidelines, plans, and architectural principles and the comprehensive manual of development policies and/or master plan, as well as other guidelines and regulations adopted into law. Certain areas of the county were designated by the county council to require review by the DRP. The panel will provide a technical review of the proposed project. Issues relative to zoning, setback relief, environmental and stormwater management, and traffic regulations do not fall under the purview of the DRP and are regulated through the appropriate agencies responsible for those aspects of the development plan review process. The panel consists of 9 members. All are professionals with practical knowledge in the matters of design. For purposes of making recommendations on a particular project, 3 members shall constitute a quorum. The attendance and comments of each member shall be recorded in the minutes, which shall be an open record and available along with all documents submitted to the panel for inspection and copying by the public. There will be opportunity for the community to offer comments and suggestions at the conclusion of the applicant's presentation. These comments will also be included in the written record of the meeting. When a speaker is called up to speak, please keep your comments focused on design perspectives within your allotted 2 minutes time. If you're speaking on behalf of a community group, you will get 5 minutes. At the conclusion of the meeting, the Department of Planning will sum up recommendations of the panel before a motion for vote is suggested. Recent legislation has changed the panel's recommendations to be advisory on the hearing officer in the various 8 county agencies, unless the hearing officer or agencies find the panel's actions constitute an abuse of its discretion or unsupported by the documentation and evidence presented. Disposition of the plan will be determined as either approved with conditions, or additional review required with a second meeting. And with those notes on the record, we can proceed for the initial item that we have, actually the only item that we have on the agenda, which is 1300 Walnut Hill Lane, is a residential review. And at this point, the presenter is invited to present your project for a review.
Thank you. So just to start this evening, like we've mentioned, this is a residential project at 1300 Walnut Hill Lane. My name's Hannah Allgood. I am with the general contractor, Elite Contracting Solutions. We also have Tierney Andrews with us, who is with NW2 Engineers and Architecture, and she will be available for comment as well if there's any questions that are relevant. So moving to the next slide, the project description. So currently at 1300 Walnut Hill Lane, there is an existing home that is slated to be removed during this process or project. That current home is actually not in compliance with a number of the setbacks or current code for this area. So the house that we are proposing is a wonderful 4-bedroom, 5-bath residence, about 3,000 square feet, and it will be in compliance with the setbacks and easements that are required for this neighborhood and community. It is in the French architectural style, and this, or French Tudor style, and has a number of beautiful roof lines across the facade that'll add just a nice kind of texture to the space. It is in scale and massing or detailing with the neighboring properties, and again, it'll place the home more appropriately on the lot. Moving into the zoning and aerial map, you can see again a little bit of what I've spoken about. You can see it in both of these slides that the existing residence 1300 is sitting basically on that property lot line on the right-hand side, and again, this future residence will place it more centered on the lot and will abide by almost the existing driveway that is currently there. It'll be slightly adjusted, but effectively the same. Moving into the images of the existing conditions. Again, this is the current residence. And kind of moving further through, you will notice that there is a significant kind of long range slope to this lot that has been affecting a bit of the design, but we've tried to be very strategic in how we are addressing the grading within this lot. Another example, this photo shows again how close this property is to the existing property line. This is the neighboring residence, 1307 Walnut Hill Lane. If you're facing 1300, this would be directly to the right of the property. And then moving on to 1306, this is again, if you're facing 1300 to the left of 1300 Walnut Hill Lane. Moving through into the grading and site plan. So this is the current grading and site plan. This is in the process of being submitted actually to environmental protections for their review. If you go one more slide further, it'll probably give an even better view of that. There we go. Of the site plan. We have a number of dry wells as indicated by the stormwater easements called out, and then again you'll notice that there is some grading and a retaining wall design that has gone into this project just due to the fact that this lot is incredibly sloped, so we're actually going with a tiered retaining wall design. It'll just kind of add again a little bit of texture to the lot. Instead of just having a flat retaining wall, there will be one lower retaining wall that's roughly 5 foot surrounding the parking, and then another one further back that's I think in the 8 to 10 foot range. It's a little bit lower instead of having, you know, what was previously going to be a 20-foot retaining wall, just to make the grading on this lot feasible. If we did not pursue this, we would have not been in compliance or code. We would have been more than 10 feet above the surrounding properties if we were to try and bring the grade up. And then again, otherwise we would have had a pretty significant just flat retaining wall on the back. Moving into the landscape plan. Again, this is the proposed landscape plan. I believe during the neighborhood meeting that I had, there was requests for a little bit of additional landscaping. That's something that I will bring up with the client and see if that's something that is feasible. They were just asking for, I think, a little bit further landscaping around the rear retaining wall. This is a rendering of how the home will look on the lot. Again, very much so in kind with the neighboring structures, and again, centered on the lot, so it'll be placed within the appropriate setbacks and easements, and utilizes a similar driveway layout for the property. Moving into the floor plans, this is just another example of the layout of the home. And again, you can see, moving on to the second one, almost again the exact same driveway layouts are really not changing that much. It is a rancher, it is 1 story continuously, and then all parking would be in the rear with this design. Further examples of the facade and elevations. I believe one request was for the roofing shingles that I received from the neighborhood community was to request like a charcoal instead of a stark black. Again, that's something that I can request with the client and see if they're amenable to. Further facade images, again, more images of the layout, and then I think we move into the building materials. So this would be a brick structure with black or charcoal shingles. They're looking at most likely limestone window headers to just kind of add a little bit of warmth. And then they are looking at black casement windows and black iron entry door with matching gas or electric black exterior lanterns. I think that concludes. I'm happy to, answer any questions or steps.
Thank you. before we talk to the panel, um, the question is whether we have anybody from the public who has any input or feedback from the community. Is there anybody signed up to speak?
We have Mr. David Owens. I believe he's speaking on behalf of the Buxton Riderwood Community Association. Please give me a second to unmute him. Mr. Owens, can you hear us?
There you go. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we
Okay.
can.
All right. Yeah, I had trouble logging on my laptop, so I switched and got on the iPhone here. So hopefully, I don't know if you have a video or not, but I made it on here. So we did receive the plans from Hannah. Exactly 3 weeks ahead of time at the last minute. We were able to get it out to the neighbors surrounding the property. And we did meet with two of the neighbors last Thursday, actually. The two neighbors are on the north side of the property, sort of up the hill there. And so they both kind of look down on this property. So we had a pretty good meeting, and Hannah participated on that in a Zoom call. So what we understand the use here is that it's being bought by sort of a family LLC partnership, and one of the members of the family live directly across the street on Walnut Hill, and the house is being torn down and built for one of the senior members or two of the senior members of that family. So that's a great thing. We love to see that. So hopefully that happens, and that's kind of the ultimate plan here. The one request from both the neighbors was that they stake the property line ahead of construction. That area back there is very old, and old Ruxton, and I don't think property lines have been staked for a very long time. So they did request that, and there's also a sewer line easement along the east side of the property, sewer and water line easement that they would like to sort of identify that also. And the sewer line there has backed up, with the previous owner several times. So again, it's an old sewer line. It comes down from Ruxton Ridge there, and then right at the existing house, it kind of takes a right turn eastward and goes sort of along this elementary school there out to Charles Street. So it has had sewer problems there. The one thing about the demo permit that we're concerned about is that we've had several houses in Ruxton recently get DRP approval, and then they tear their house down, and then it's a year, 6 months, 2 years later, they still haven't built anything. So if possible, we'd like to delay the demo permit as long as, until they've at least filed for final building plans. So this house has a very steep slope, as Hannah mentioned. The retaining wall is going to be big. I'm glad to hear it's tiered, because that doesn't really show up on the plans. And it's like a 200-foot retaining wall. It's not a small retaining wall. It goes around the whole property, or at least half of the property. At the top of it is a 42-inch aluminum fence. That will be, a very prominent fence, visually prominent. And so I think that's where we were concerned about additional landscape screening on the north side of that, so that it wasn't so obvious. And not sure what color that would be painted, but it might be better as a sort of a muted color than a bright white. the stormwater management plan, a lot of that water, gathers in underneath that retaining wall in that retained area and along the top side, and then travels over to a catch basin on the west side of the property. And then that catch basin is piped down into a storm water drain on Walnut Hill Lane. And I don't know if that, I just recommend they check that stormwater drain there and that stormwater line, because I don't think it's ever had this much water coming into it. The landscape plan seemed adequate, except for that, that top part of the fencing area there. One of the neighbors was requesting that they install one new tree for every tree that's removed. It appears that they probably will meet that requirement. And then that neighbor also requested that they use native trees and plants and shrubs wherever possible. Another issue, just to consider is that concrete parking pad. They got a 3-car garage and they've got a 4,200 square foot concrete, not 4,200, 2,200 square foot concrete parking pad there that's, with impervious surface. So you might consider a more permeable surface or do some landscape buffering on the sides of that concrete pad to make it smaller. The color of the roof shingles was a concern of one of the neighbors on the north side, because they look, they are significantly higher and look right down on that property. So they did ask for a lighter color, either a charcoal or a slate. The final thing is the driveway entrance. This is the end of Walnut Hill Road, basically, and the
Excuse me, Mr.
driveway part.
Owens, your time is up.
Okay, I'll just say the driveway there is out in Walnut Hill Lanes, but the entrance to the driveway. So there is, there's kind of an issue there of whether they're on, the county property or, how they're improving the actual road there. So that's really it. So, and there's no turnaround at the end of Walnut Hill there. It's just basically a dead end street. So that's all I have. So you can carry on with that.
Very good. Thank you so much. I would say to you that a number of the items that you have mentioned are not under the purview of our commission, but with respect to projects and the lines and the stormwater and that, those issues will have to be resolved with various county authorities, but it's so noted, but our group is really not in a position to comment on that. A number of items that you did mention, we can discuss certainly, but some of those you respect that we don't have authority over. Are there any other folks that have signed up to speak?
Let me check with Brad. Donald, Brad, do we have anyone else?
Nope, that's it.
Okay, very good. So at that point, let me say that the public comment period has ended. And now we'll open up the floor to our panel members to discuss this project, and would start with Mr. Anderson, please.
Thank you, Donald. Just a couple of questions, comments, and I did want to echo what Donald said about some of David's comments. There's a lot of good stuff there to take under advisement, but several things that don't fall under our purview. Certainly good comments that you should be aware of, and hopefully can work with the neighbors on. I want to go back to the retaining wall for a second, and I just want to clarify, when we talk about a tiered retaining wall, you're talking about not really a tiered retaining wall in the sense that there's, sort of 3 tiers making up 8 feet. You're talking about a retaining wall at the parking area and then a second retaining wall back towards the back of the property, right? That's what you're referring to as tiered, correct?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And the retaining wall at the back of the property is, and it's a little hard for me to see, I looked at it on the other presentation pieces, in some places 8 feet tall, give or take. Is that right? And in some places, maybe describe that retaining wall a little bit more for me, if you could.
Yeah, absolutely. So it is, between 8 and 10 feet tall, depending on the location of course, it kind of shrinks on the edges. The original design for this retaining wall was closer to like that 15 to 18-foot marker when it was just
Right.
one retaining wall system. And, we were creating a singular grade across this lot. And that just really didn't feel appropriate for not only the client, but also the community, because it's, like a compound wall or something like that.
Right.
This design, so effectively when you come through that porte cochere, up the driveway down, the center between these trees, you'll go through the porte cochere and there is a 5-foot retaining wall that surrounds the parking pad and dives into the side of this garage. And the garage also serves as an extension of that retaining wall. So then there are steps up, I think it's about 3 or 4 steps up to the rear yard and the rest of the grade. And that's how we kind of were able to address breaking up that retaining wall.
Right.
Moving further back, of course, you have the larger 8 to 10-foot wall that is, we're showing landscaping on the lower section of it, but I think obviously it's been requested by the community that we add additional landscaping on the rear to hide some of the fencing, because that is obviously a drop.
Yeah. And I would, totally agree with the additional landscaping on the high side of the wall by the fencing. I think that would help a lot for the neighbors not to have to stare at the fence there. So if you could bring in some screening there. What materials are you planning for the retaining wall?
We're looking at, I believe it's called compact modern block. I can actually pull and submit that spec if that would be of
Yeah,
assistance.
that'd be great. We've had a few instances where people have told us they're going to put in a segmental block type wall, smaller format, and then lo and behold, they install a large format block wall, which looks very commercial and not residential. So I would like to see if you could add that to the drawing along with the landscaping for the back. The only other kind of comment I have, if you can go, Marta, to the left side elevation, I think it is.
It's the front and the rear.
Yeah, there you go, left side. And I know that the back of the structure there is the garage, right?
Yeah.
And I know you've got some, fairly reasonably sized landscaping plan for the property line there. But, when you look at this elevation, the lack of windows on the garage really kind of throw it out of balance, right? And really create this stark wall right there, particularly with the materials you're choosing. They're not going to be, it's not going to be a particularly nice looking wall in its solid form there. I would suggest, and we'll see what the other panelists say too, that you add some windows to the garage, depending on if it's feasible. If for some reason it's not, maybe there's something you can do with additional landscaping, certainly foundational landscaping. That's a little bit more, that's not shown there. I think the windows are a better choice. But if you're not going to do windows, you're going to have to augment the landscaping a little bit to improve that. And there's nothing shown on the drawing landscaping wise along that foundation. So we'll figure out, see what everybody else says, and then we can add that to the motion. The one thing that David mentioned that I also did want to bring up was I did see that the driveway's off the property line. You're going to have to deal with that with the rest of the county, but I did want to mention that. So it's a little bit hard to talk about whether there's a design issue there or not. I don't really think there is if you fix it correctly, but there is some landscaping on the other side of the garage, on the far side, on the right side of that garage a little bit. It's not really what I would say adequate, and I wouldn't want you to repeat it where I just described, but there's a little bit of foundation planting over there, so it makes that a little bit softer. Those are really my only comments. The retaining wall, information, the additional landscaping there, and addressing that one elevation on the garage. So I'll stop there and let someone else speak.
Thank you. So, Mr. Salad, if you would offer your thoughts.
Thanks, Donald. Yeah, so I do sort of agree and support the comments made around the fence to the top of the retaining wall. I think actually that would serve double duty because if there's some additional trees or landscape back there, it would actually help screen the parking a little bit more since you're looking down at it from an elevation. So it'll kind of do double duty there. I would assume that that fence is going to be some sort of black color to match the aesthetic. So in reference to some of the comments in the that was said earlier about that fence specifically, I think that would make that also go away. Black fences tend to not necessarily stick out, and that would look pretty appropriate. I think
Absolutely.
I think the concrete pad, the comment about the concrete pad itself, I'm not sure if you have any plans for that. Is that just going to have a pattern, 10 by 10 foot, just controlled joints, or are you anticipating to have some sort of stamping on it?
It's not been discussed at present, but I'm happy to have that conversation with the client and get back to you all. Is there a preference that I should bring forth?
No, sometimes, that's a very cost-effective way to create, the aesthetic of something that is paved, but it's just made out of concrete.
Right.
And a lot of times what we would do is you can color the concrete a little bit more. You can add, maybe make it a bit more gray than
Right.
the standard, sidewalk concrete. I think it's a very cost-effective way to create some interest on that parking area without necessarily spending an arm and leg using pervious pavers, which never really work 100% in my opinion. It's a very complicated, expensive system because of the underlayments needed to make that actually work.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, I thought the architectural style of the building is very well, nicely done. The massing is relatively well broken, and the building sits, very well on the site, nestled into the hill like that. I did, first of all, when I saw the drawings, I was sort of trying to understand why the retaining wall was pushed back that much. I'm assuming that they would want to create some sort of usable outdoor space directly off of the building, and that's fine. That's their right to do so on that property. But otherwise, I don't have any other comments. I think everything was nicely put together, great presentation, and great job with the design of the house itself. Thank you. That's my only comment.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sharma.
Yes, thank you. Sorry for all the trouble I went through this and caused trouble for logging in. So I don't have any additional comment except I had one for the retaining wall. Mr. Anderson already said that. So besides that, I don't have any comment.
Very good. Thank you. I have a few questions I'd like to understand better. Are there any major trees that are being removed from the site? I don't know that we saw that. If I did, I missed it.
Yes, there will be a number of trees that will be removed from the property, mainly the ones directly surrounding the existing residence. Just due to the proximity that they have to the new lot layout and the extensive grading that has to be done.
Is there a drawing that shows that at this point?
No, not at this point.
Okay. So I think, to me, that would be something that should get reviewed as part of this overall conversation we've had. And then, I don't know, the way the architectural drawings are done, what is the detail where the roof and the wall of the building connect? Is there some, it's hard to tell whether
Like
the
a
roof,
flashing detail or a gutter system, or are you asking like if there's like a cornice or?
or something happening at the top of the wall or at the edge of the roof with gutter details or any of that, which aren't shown anywhere?
Yeah, absolutely. So yes, obviously there will be a gutter system incorporated within this design. it would either be, it would probably, I would assume it's going to be a white gutter system, or perhaps they might go for something that is, you know, more of an architectural detail. I'm not sure if they're going to go for a more expensive product than that. The only other alternative there is that they could go with a black gutter that might blend in better with the roof line. There isn't currently shown a cornice detail or anything of that nature, or, you know, adjustment to the brick design.
Because I have to say, I think well, overall, I think it's a good project. Let me say that. But I think if we make a good motion, I think there are a number of details that should be provided that don't currently exist. It's a little too schematic, and something, depending on how the motion is made, should be part of any further discussion about the project, in my opinion.
Okay.
So, questions or comments from the panel? So,
Donald, I did want to address the conversation, that the comment from David Owens and the neighbor about the color of the roof. I think from my perspective, you know, I'm a bit agnostic between black and charcoal and what have you. If the contractor and the owner wants to address the neighbor's concerns, I think that's fine. I wasn't so inclined to add it as a condition of approval here, unless any of the other panel members feel strongly about it. I did want to bring it up because it is it was a comment from the community, and it's rare that I don't, you know, fall in line behind that. I just don't know that I think it's a condition of approval. So
You're
yeah,
not really
understood.
truly black. You're not really truly black with shingles. I mean, even the black is somewhat of a dark charcoal color. So it's just, I really don't think there's a big difference between the two.
Fair. And I think, you know, the one comment I have to say is that, as Ms. Allgood mentioned, to discuss with the client, some of these conditions will be the whatever we discuss will actually be part of the approval process. That it isn't necessarily the option of the client if it becomes a condition of our approval. Just so we'll see where we go, but just to say that too. Okay. Would someone like to make a motion to try to capture all this?
Donald, I'm happy to do that. I just, with regard to the question of additional detailing, and I certainly agree with you that this is somewhat less detailed than most of the drawings that we get. Are there specific details we can put in the motion that we'd like to see returned, or because just saying additional detailing is a little bit vague in terms of being able to come back with something, and I'm not sure, you know, what would constitute adequate detailing in your mind.
Yeah, I had mentioned this sort of the roof edge and the gutter system.
Okay, roof edge and gutter, sort of top of wall, roof edge, gutter, kind of. Yeah, I mean, you can't really even tell if there's, you know, what the eaves look like, you know, and all. So,
right.
Okay. All right. So let me ask. I have a question. I do have a question for Marta. If within the motion and the recommendation of the panel, we were to give the builder, the owner, the option between a revised landscape plan or the addition of windows at the garage, per my comment, is that something that we could leave to that discussion and have them return to planning, you know, one or the other, or do you need us to pick one and say it's got to be this?
I think we need to be clear what conditions we're asking for. So I think if that's how we typically request that conditions are stated. You need to decide whether you're making conditions or you're not making them as a
Yeah.
condition. And there are two options to come back to the panel or reviewed administratively
Right.
by planning staff and DRP acting chair. So there are.
Yeah.
we need to
So
be clear
so
about that.
yeah. My motion would likely be just to return it to planning with those. So what I'm gonna suggest that they look at the addition of windows to the garage, only in the name of giving them a specific target for this. And if there's some objection to that, they can bring it up with planning when they resubmit it. So.
Fran, if I can suggest one more thing that you might think about is that these drawings call out for like triple hung windows, but then the material slide calls out for a casement window. I think it would be good to just clarify what that window
Sure.
type is.
Absolutely. Clarify window type. Okay. Great. All right, let me take a shot at this. We got a couple of things to add to here, but so I would move that the project be approved with the following conditions: that additional landscaping be added to the retaining wall area and the revised landscape plan be submitted along with specifications on the retaining wall itself. That additional detailing on the drawings be added at the roof edge and gutter, as well as clarifying the window type, given the contradiction on the plan. That windows be added to the garage wall at the left side elevation. And that the landscape plan identify those trees to be removed by the owner as part of that plan. And I think I got everything, and that's it.
If I can maybe propose to add one thing with that fence, would be to clarify the extent of that fence in plan, because I could not really see or trace like where does it actually start and stop.
Absolutely.
So the additional condition being to detail the plans or the fences length on the plan.
And perhaps that the color of that fence be with the planning.
So do you want me to restate all that, Marta, or is that okay?
I think we got it.
Okay. All right. Well, there's your motion.
Very
So
good. Thank you.
I just wanted to clarify it's administrative review by planning, right?
Right. By planning, to return to planning,
Okay.
not to the panel.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I need a second for that.
I'll second that.
Very good. Thank you. Any other discussion before we take a vote? Okay, if you will, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Very good. So the motion passes. I think we got some good advice and make this project work very well. I think it's a good effort. Are there any other items? I think not for tonight. We appreciate everybody's time and patience. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Y'all want to just stay around for a while? Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor? Aye.
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 Good. Thank you, everybody. Good job.
Thank you
Thanks
all.
everyone. Have a good night. Thank you.
Thank
Good
you,
night.
everyone. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.